Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show, bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Recording live in studio, here's Nick and Matt.
So, all right, guys. Have you ever done something like kind of weird and awkward? Well, Evan, myself, and Ben were just streaming to ourselves for the last 11 minutes talking and having a good old time, a dress rehearsal, if you will. We'll explain that. I guess Ben noticed it 10 minutes in that the stream never officially started, but we thought we had. So here we are again.
I was bringing my A game too. I was rolling, giving all the stats, and now practice. I just got to do it again. It was
just practice.
Hopefully second time sounds better too, you know.
The audience will just have to believe that. I will say this, Nick is not here. He let us know kind of last minute, which is cool, but he's up at GMC at Brewster and Fox, Smuggler's Notch, Green Mountain Championship. He's trying to practice the courses and his putting so that he can get in. I guess they have a play-in option. Do you know anything about that? Because I think it must be like a 5-spot type deal.
Yeah, I think it's 4 or 5 spots would be my guess, and just it's the tournament's of course restricted to the top 100 players, and the Pro Tour standings are top 100 invites. I guess if people deny, it'll keep on going down the list. I don't know Nick's exact placement, but it's unlikely he would get the invite outright. So by playing the qualifications, he can get in. There's also tournament qualifications like the Brewster Ridge Open a couple months back. If he had won that, he could have entered in. I think was that Casey White who took it down and got the invite, even though he's setting points. But
okay, well, we wish the best for Nick. I told Nick if he wins GMC or even gets top 5, I went that far. Maybe I'd even go top 10, but then we're starting to get a little bit too close. I said we'll shave. I spoke for everybody here. We'll shave our heads and our beards clean. And he goes, bro, first I have to play in number 1. And he goes, but 2, if I win, he goes, we're all shaving it. And he goes live on air. So you guys can root for Nick a little bit harder now.
I second that. Nick, I'm rooting for you. Exactly. I would gladly do all that. That's
it would just be like, yeah, we just go wild. Okay. Episode 106 presented by Cosmic Disc Golf. You can go check them out at cosmicdg.com. Cosmic Disc Golf has some really cool things that I think they're going to be announcing. I'm not privileged to say yet, but I was chatting with the owner today, and wow, that's all I'll say right now. So Cosmic DG, you can follow them on Instagram at Cosmic Disc Golf. Ben, you're here and you've got your new background up. For those who listen only, you don't always get to see it, but Ben's got a new background tonight. It is, oh, look at that. The Canadian or the Canada, the flag of Canada. The flag of Canada.
Little hint for who's coming on the show today, even though it's in the title. But you can never guess.
Yeah, that's right. If you're listening blind, you have no idea who's coming on, but the title says Thomas Gilbert, and we will be having him on. This is, it's funny because now I can go back on how I introed things earlier, the first 10 minutes, and kind of change it up. At first, I was talking myself into like not much is going on this week, but there was a lot going on. It just wasn't all Disc Golf Pro Tour related. So you had the Canadian National Championships, you had the PDGA Masters, which is the Tim Selinsky U.S. Championship for Masters, and you also had the Silver Series. What's the full name? It's Butler something, right? Like
Butler County Disc Golf Classic.
Wow. I guess if you're from Butler County, it sounds epic, but
yeah, just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, western side, very hilly and woodsy, and we'll get to that.
Okay. So that happened. Long story short, Ben's got the Canadian flag behind him, and we are excited to interview Thomas here in just a little bit. Sorry to push this out for everybody. If you're listening post, it's not a big deal, but for us, we've already talked this much. So let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of the stats. Evan, go ahead. I was like, Where are we at now? I've done this before.
Starting with Butler County, it was a Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series event, the last regular season event, you could say, the last Silver Series event. So last time to get points before the playoffs, where the field starts to shrink. Points matter a lot more, though, so we'll see a lot more movement. But Krista Tatara takes it down. A pretty dominant victory. Her 3rd win in a row. She won Des Moines, an Elite Series event, the World Championships, of course, just a weekend ago, which was a major, and now a Silver Series event, a little bit of a trifecta of tiers. She was maybe the only top, let's say, FPO player who decided to play this event. You know, judging by like the rankings, only one inside the top 15, only one inside the top 10 of Disc Golf Pro Tour points, but she still takes it down in dominant fashion, winning by 8 strokes. She moves into second place into the Disc Golf Pro Tour points, which doesn't mean a whole lot because all the top 4 is the same. They all get a bye. But, you know, I think she's just trying to stay loose, and, you know, getting closer to that winning the regular season title of Disc Golf Pro Tour points is cool. Maybe not an achievement she cares about too much, but still interesting. Over on the MPO side, we had Joel Freeman taking it down. He put on a heater in the final round, maybe one of the best rounds of the year. It was only rated 1077, which raised a lot of eyebrows. We'll talk about
Ratings,
that later.
ding, 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 ding. Yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit because everyone loves a good rating conversation, and there's a little bit of a splash again, and Pro Tour players are talking about it, and I don't know how far we'll get into it, but yes, heater. And I think in the first rendition of this episode, you were trying to figure out the right word. It was like, is this a fire? Like, what did he do? He took the course record by 6. So I think it was 8 down previously. He shot 14 down, no bogeys. And he said it was absolutely the best round of his life, most memorable. And he said it was mixed with luck, where he was surprised on 3 or 4 holes where he actually got some incredible luck to give him a birdie. But he also said he played some of the best golf of his life, and he said those mixed together make for this dream round. So, yeah, congrats to him.
Yeah. And you know what's wild? He was trailing going into the final round, but wins by 9 strokes. Like that's crazy. Actually, that's something we could look into.
It looks crazy.
It can't, maybe not live, but trailing into the final round to the biggest win margin, at least on a Silver Series or up for an event, that might take the cake. That is an insane little fact, right?
Well,
there.
because I knew it was closer. When you go look at the scores, it kind of takes you back a little bit. You're like, what? Like 17 to 26? Like as in those first to second? Yeah, crazy. So,
yeah. But yeah, and then we'll talk about Canadian Nationals, maybe the second biggest MPO and FPO event of the weekend. Of course, we have Thomas Gilbert, the winner of the MPO division. He took it down by 3 strokes over Matt Bell. Thomas Gilbert, of course, a Canadian, winning the Canadian Nationals. That's pretty cool. In our first rendition, Matt was like, I wonder the last time there was a Canadian winning Canadian Nationals. I still have to look it up.
Well, because, and I'll mention it again, because it's only deja vu for us, not for them. But Paul Macbeth, I believe, was there. You had Nate Sexton there in the years past. You've had Simon. You've had Dustin. Past. Yeah, yes. Dustin Keegan has been there. I'm just thinking on like the MPO side. And I'm leaving out people, I'm sure. But the point is, there's been a really strong presence over the years, and so we'll talk to him about it. But it's pretty cool to see Canadian himself.
Absolutely.
We didn't line up like the national anthem or anything, but maybe we can see.
And meanwhile, on the FPO side, we had an American win. Ella Hansen takes it down. Still looking for her first tour win, but she gets a big one here at the Canadian Nationals, taking down a field of Canadians. Like everyone else was Canadian, it felt like. But she gets a big win, winning by 15 strokes. Wasn't live coverage of this, but I assume she was kind of rolling to the victory in the final round.
Ooh. Yes, absolutely. And I want to give her due. I thought that was really cool to see her go up there. I know she's friends with Zoe Andyke, and she's invested in that. I'm sure that was an exciting moment for them. A few other quick MPOs that I remember over the past at this event: Nate Perkins, Chandler Fry. I'm pretty sure you could just keep going on. But anyways, it's a well-attended event, and the course is absolutely beautiful. Worthy of driving. How far, Evan? We figured it out in our first rendition.
10 and a half hours. We were a little bit over our
10 hours from Maple Hill.
I don't know.
More or less. 10 hours from Maple Hill, you can actually go to... So Maple Hill's rated number 1, according to UDisc. I think Hillcrest is in the top 20, if not top 10. It's way up there.
I think it's top 10 in it. I think it might be like 4 to 6.
I think it's number 3. Something tells me
it could be. Either way, 3. My point is 10 hours between
some
them.
Intuition.
Yeah, some intuition. Green screen of Thomas Gilbert in the green room. Good job.
Gotcha.
Cheating,
nice.
Ben.
No, I wasn't.
I thought Ben was smart.
His intuition is named Thomas. Okay, we will.
And here's the tough part: I don't get to see Thomas when I'm calling in here. You guys get to see him until he comes on live. I have no clue.
If you were in studio, I can hear him. If you were in studio still. Okay, so anyways, that was excellent. We'll talk more about that. The U.S. Masters, the Tim Selinsky event, it has crowned 10 new pro master champions. That's pretty cool. Any notables there? Own took it down, right? in her division?
Owen took it down in FP40. That's her third major of any kind of level. Junior, age protected, master, which is age protected,
Juliana
or
Korver.
open. Yep, Juliana Korver takes down her 9th major. Barry Schultz takes it down in MP50, his 16th major. He's the most winningest of all the winners this past week. Also, Dr. Rick Vokes takes down MP70. I mean, that's just amazing that you have that division of athletes still.
How
Good
about
for them. He takes down his 15th.
MP65? Chuck Kennedy, the creator of the rating system, third place in MP65. Let's see what he rated. What? All of his rounds are 1,070? How could that be? I'm just kidding.
I get it.
Goodness.
Just kidding. So that's cool. Chuck, you were one of our first guests. If you're listening, we appreciate it. We just know that the rating system has given people a lot of heartache.
Yeah, like
it drives discussion. That's all we can do, right?
Yep. So anyways, the point is a lot did happen, but the Pro Tour itself was on hold because Simon Lizotte got married. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Simon and Natalia and their son Emmett, of course, part of the wedding. It was really spectacular. I did make it. What a privilege and an honor it was to be a part of that. Okay. Let's talk really quickly here about this wonderful product that I used throughout the whole weekend, Ben, and I tried to beat you with. It increases my confidence and my grip, but it did not let me throw further than you on a lot of the holes. So this is DG Maxwax. This product is so good. It literally, I reached for it in the slot where I put my mini. I rub my fingers on it, pull it out, kind of rub my fingers together. It is perfect. I don't know how to say it any other way. I absolutely love it. It doesn't last like through a whole round. Like it starts to wear off and it's fine because then I just get a little bit more and I just keep it perfect. Just keep it perfect. If I don't want it, you can rub it off pretty easily. Long story short, DG Maxwax enhances your grip. You can use the code Nick and Matt over at dgmaxwax.com. They also have the smaller version that you can stick in your pocket called Snapstick. Pretty fun word there, huh? Snapstick. So anyways, I love the product. I use it regularly. And I just alluded to the fact that Ben can still throw further, but that's because he's throwing like 100 feet further than me. Ben is smashing. He's doing good. So
work hard. Hard work pays off.
All right. This is going to be a little bit more low key show. So let's not make it boring, but low key. Let's make it chill. Let's go ahead and bring in the guest of the hour, of the night, of the weekend. One of them. We can't allude from everybody else, but Thomas Gilbert on the show. Excited to have you. Welcome to the show, Thomas. And did Ben do you good with that flag behind him?
Oh yeah, I love that. I love the flag.
Oh yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, how many years have you played the Canadian National Championship? And in the recent past, it's all been up there on PEI, correct?
Yes. So the last 3 Canadian Nationals have been in PEI. I played 4 of them. So they're in 2017. It was in Toronto, which is my hometown, and I played that, but I was still like fresh in MPO at that point.
Okay. And what's your best finish before this weekend?
3rd in 2019.
Okay. 3rd in 2019. So congratulations on taking it down. It looked to me like when I did a review of the scores that you were able to come into the final round. You had the play, and I don't mean to bring it up, but hole 18, did you get a 7?
I did, yeah.
So,
I took a double bogey in the par 5 on the last hole.
Okay,
but
so
I have a tiny story around that.
Yeah, go ahead, because I was going to ask you to enhance that, yeah.
So I kind of downward spiraled from like hole 15 on. And on the tee pad of hole 15, I don't know what it was, but for some reason when I went to throw my drive, my finger shifted, something happened, and I cut my fingernails now, but the nail bed bent completely back, and I had to like throw with a modified grip for the rest of the round because it was painful to like grip with the normal pressure on a disc. And so I think it was more mental than actual physical, where just like I was afraid to grip it and like do it again. And so that, I think that kind of like messed me up in the last couple holes coming down the stretch. But luckily I had a big enough cushion that I wasn't like super stressed where I was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose now because my fingers hurt. And
Yeah, you had a
so
big
that was
cushion.
that was a little hiccup coming down the stretch, but it didn't matter too much because I had a 6-stroke lead.
That's so people were probably like, Matt, horrible interview. You started out, oh, you took a 7 on hole 18. But where I was going with that is because I was looking at the scores and I was like, it didn't matter. Like you had a strong lead. It didn't matter. You could coast your way in at that point. And maybe it didn't feel that way, but like that's what you were able to do. But so congratulations on that. What does it mean to you when it comes to the fact that that's the Canadian Nationals, that's your country, and you did it? I mean, what does it feel like to you?
It feels amazing. I mean, it's honestly a title that I've been chasing for the past 4 or 5 years now. I think it's a really important title for me as a Canadian. It really I've been probably the top Canadian for the last 3 or 4 years, but now I finally have the actual title to prove it. So it's more than just ratings. It's more than just rankings. It's the actual title. And that means the world to me. So it's not actually, maybe not quite the world, because the 2 titles I put over top of it is World Championship and USDGC Champion. So those 2 titles are the probably 2 that I put above Canadian National title. But I think I value this tournament and this win almost more than a Pro Tour win.
Almost more. You sure you don't want to go more?
No, it's hard. I'm debating in my head a little bit. I was like, I'll get more recognition for a Pro Tour win, but I think to myself as a Canadian, the Canadian National title is extremely important.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I'm thinking out loud here about this. Like, we don't refer to, U.S. citizens when they're playing disc golf as like, oh, you're the American playing disc golf. Like here, I think if a player went up there, they might say that, but like, I feel like you are kind of just referred to as the Canadian, like on tour. It's like, that's who you are, but like, we're a global sport, but like, you're still referred to like that way. Like, have you noticed that? Like, you're the identity in a lot of ways for Canada. I know there's a few others, but like, you are like the guy.
Yeah. I mean, especially throughout the pandemic, I was the only representative from Canada for a long time. I was the only person able to get down there and fully tour throughout the entire pandemic. And so I think that representation from Canada kind of solidified myself. And it's a huge honor to represent a country. Like it's a really cool feeling to have the support of a nation rooting you on, cheering for you, trying to represent them at all the big elite events that we play on the tour. So it's, a very cool feeling and a huge honor for myself.
Mm-hmm. So we got Evan here, Stat Mando. We can put him up too on camera. We don't have to keep him in the closet, but is like any stats that stand out? You knew Thomas was coming on, but I didn't set you up for any of this stuff. But what do you got for stats, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, you had an incredible start to the year. I mean, I think you had 3 top 10s, including silvers. And then you had your European stretch in the middle where you got a win and, of course, a lot of top 10s. But your last 4 events, it's been a little bit lower. I think they're their 4 worst events. I'm not trying to throw you in the spotlight here. But, like, does winning Canadian Nationals kind of, like, spark your season to kind of finish the rest of the year strong when we're hitting some of the biggest events of the year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at my season last year, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm just getting burnt out kind of in that, like, second third of the season. But I had like a good start to my season, and then I kind of, after the West Coast swing, usually kind of burn out a little bit, and I had the same kind of stretch between Deglow and Idlewild last year. And then I came up to Canada and won the Ontario Provincial Championship, and then I got, I think, like 20th or something at GMC, and then 9th at Maple Hill MVP Open. And so I think, and I'm hoping as well, that this win sparks a good rest of the season and good finish for my year.
Okay.
And then I want to bring it back to the talk about the European swing in the center. What kind of made you want to go play extra events in Europe? I mean, I think from all the North Americans, you probably played the most events in Europe this year. Mm-hmm. So what sparked that decision? And then just talk about how it felt being over there for, like a couple months, it seemed.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I was out there for 6 weeks. I started after the Beaver State fling. I flew out to Sweden, and that started my 6-week stretch of playing in Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Norway, and then back over to Finland. and it was just a really cool opportunity. I said to myself at the beginning of the year, I've never been to Europe ever for disc golf or non-disc golf, and to seem like it seemed weird to me to just go to Europe, play PCS Sula Open and European Open, be super rushed, have a crazy schedule, only have so many days of practice, and kind of like rush the experience of a lifetime. So I decided to skip out on the 2 Elite Series, the Preserve and Idlewild, and really just enjoy my time in Europe, make the most of the experience, get to know the Europeans really well, play in multiple different countries. And I think that I was very happy with that decision. I think I'll be doing it again next year.
Awesome. Yeah, traveling and playing disc golf is something that a lot of people dream of doing. Some people take advantage of the opportunity depending on the place they are in life. For you, I'm just curious. I mean, you mentioned this, like disc golf, how do I put it? I'll let you say the words, I guess, but disc golf seems to be a grind for those who aren't like having the $1 million contracts or winning every weekend. So like, how long have you been grinding it out on tour, like to where you're like, is this what I'm going to do the rest of my life? Like, have you thought about how far and how long you do this?
Yeah, I mean, I for sure have my next 4 years planned out because I have currently a 5-year work visa that allows me to be in the States full time, tour, stay as long as I need to. So that's for sure the plan is to go until the end of 2026 and tour full time, see how good I can get in disc golf and really just do it to the max. And then I think I will probably lower my season schedule a little bit, not do quite as many events. I think by the end of this year, I think I'll have like 40 events played, and that's just a lot of weekends.
Wow.
That's a lot of time throughout the year just grinding and playing tournaments week in and week out. And it definitely, there's a sense of burnout that you get from playing tournaments, and it's exhausting. The mental toughness you need to have throughout an entire tournament to be able to finish at a top level. It gets pretty exhausting, and it's something that obviously I don't take for granted. I have an amazing job. It's a dream come true for me to be able to play disc golf and do it as a career. But it's definitely a balance of like, I need to really think hard about how much mental energy I'm putting into my job, because just as any other job in the world, you can easily get burnt out if you work too hard. So I think next year, focusing and taking a little bit of time between events to give a full week and a half, 2 weeks of time to focus on one event instead of focusing on one event for 4 days in a row, or like 3 days of practice and then the entire tournament, and then going immediately to another place and doing that whole thing over again. It's pretty exhausting. So spacing it out next year, I think, will make it a bit easier on myself, but also hopefully improve my play too.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud here, and you're talking about how, burnout. First of all, Statmando, is my math correct? Like 40 is like at least 3 events a month, and 4 of those during the middle of the summer. You're playing every weekend. So like, yeah, incredible. Do you feel like you're working for yourself, or do you feel like you're working for like a company like disc golf, like just in general? I mean, like, how do you see it? Are you self-managed?
I would say so. Yeah, I think it's very self-driven. Like the reason I want to play all these tournaments is because I think they're all very cool events in very different locations, and I like to experience all those different places and see what each place has to offer. I like to give a lot of tournaments a chance to impress me, and I kind of I'm still in the stages where it's like, oh yeah, I want to try everything. Like, let's do it. Go big or go home kind of thing. But I definitely am learning that that's not the best way to approach it at all times, especially if you're taking it to the full level of professionalism. You need to kind of give yourself some time to recharge and power up for the ones that matter to you the most.
Cool. Yeah. And you're obviously throwing your discs very well. Do you feel like for you as a player that you have a preference of like playing more like a Hillcrest, which again, for those who don't know, it's like pretty wooded. I mean, it's a clean wooded, right? I mean, it's nice fairways, fair, but it's not wide open like we saw at Worlds this year. Like, so, I mean, which do you prefer?
Like IDGC type course.
Say that again.
It's like an IDGC, International Disc
Mhm.
Golf Center.
Yes.
The
Yes.
WRJ. I would say like that's probably the closest relation course that people know of
Great.
that Hillcrest plays like.
Great point there. So like, which do you prefer, like that style, or do you prefer like more open bomber style?
I prefer the wooded style. I prefer like the manicured fairways, so like not kind of gimmicky, which I know was some of the criticism of even the tournament, Butler County this weekend, that some of the fairways were just too tight and too wooded and gimmicky lines. But this had very distinguished, very fair, very attackable lines, and you know what shot you're trying to execute. And I think it's really rewarding to hit your line and hit the intended line on a hole. It's, I think, a way more rewarding feeling than kind of like throwing your hyzer in bounds on an open field in a kind of open course like that. So even though I throw far and a lot of people think it's to my advantage to go play bomber courses, I actually rather enjoy the more wooded hitting your line kind of style courses.
It's interesting. A lot of players say that, and maybe it's not becoming so interesting to say that because maybe it's just the fact. A lot of players really like that. But interesting conversation is that it doesn't seem like like it's going to be both. It seems like the future of the sport is both. But awesome. Someone in the chat, I'm going to shout out one question out of the chat now, and if another good one pops up, I'll do it. They said, ask him about being second in the Euro Tour standings and if that means anything to you. Did you know that?
Yes, yeah. So actually that was brought up the tournament after my whole European swing at D-Glow. I was on the skins match on GK Pro, and they brought that up to my attention. I was like, hey, you're second in the Euro Tour standings. Like, how does that feel? And like, I didn't realize that that I was in that position up until they told me. And it was just, yeah, kind of the way the ball fell, or like the cards fell. And I played really, really well at the 3 events that I played on the Euro Tour, and I think I got first, third, and sixth, I believe, at those 3 Euro Tour events. And so it all came together where that put me high in the standings. I think I was second to Jakob Samarad, who we all know from his really good performance at the Sula Open.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a kind of surprise, but a really cool honor as well to be so high up there in the Euro Tour standings for the time that I spent out there. It made it also kind of feel even more worthwhile to me to be out there and commit to the tour like that.
Yeah, and that was thanks to, it's hard to read YouTube usernames sometimes, but that was like Barao Sef. maybe European, who knows?
Well, hey, I want to bring it back to Canada for a second. And so Discmania announced that they're going to sponsor Hillcrest's tournament called the Discmania Open, I believe, for the next 3 years. And they're going to have it be an event. Who knows what level it'll be? Probably an 8-tier up, but whether it's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour schedule or not is obviously a question. But if there was an event in Canada that makes it to, let's say, the Disc Golf Pro Tour schedule, would that be your first choice as a Canadian? Do you have any feel to like maybe a Toronto area, British Columbia? I mean, I don't know how well you know all the courses in Canada, but figured I'd ask you.
I think absolutely that PEI Hillcrest is the number one destination I would choose for a tournament representation of Canada. The course is next to none in beauty. It's probably my second favorite course in the world, next to Maple Hill. I really enjoy the event there. They have a great tournament staff that runs an amazing event. They're extremely accommodating, honestly, more so than any other tournament I've ever played. PEI is the biggest revenue there is tourism, so they have the infrastructure to host and hold several thousand people. I think the courses are a little bit crowded, and I know that they're working hard for the Discmania Open next year to kind of build into the rough of the fairways some areas for spectators to watch from. And I know that the second course that we played, Rose Valley, is on an amazing property. I think it was freshly put in this year, I believe, and so it still has a little bit of work to be, I think, at the Pro Tour like world class level. but I think they have what it takes for sure. And I know there's discussions on bringing it onto the tour, and I'm all for it. So, I mean, I love the courses. I love the place. I think many touring pros would too, and I think the fans would enjoy watching the action there as well.
I was already trying to tell Evan in our pre-show that we did, apparently. He's like, I got to go up there. And I'm like, absolutely. I was able to do it with my wife 3 or 4 years ago and play in the tournament on the AM side. And the course was just so magical, right? I mean, there's holes that are just like, it's just fun to look at. And then you're like, I get to throw a Frisbee on this hole. Like, it's so cool. Like they put ponds in, like, yeah, maybe artificial, but the way they did them was just right. Like there's a lot of good stuff to it. There was another course up there. Did you guys, they used to involve a course called Huckett. Is that still used?
Yes, that is still used. That was used for the AM side and I believe Masters side at the tournament. It's still a fantastic course. They had some damages from the hurricane in 2019. I actually wasn't able to play it this year, but I heard it's still in great condition, really fun to play. I think a very good tournament. I know that Ben Smith, who's the tournament director and main guy that organizes the whole event up there, really enjoys Rose Valley and sees the potential in that course. And I think that's going to be their focus for a second course in the future, because I think it has the most room to expand and really have an impact for a world caliber course in the future.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back now from Canada, Evan. We're just going to toss it back and forth across country lines. Which, by the way, you don't have to tell us your address, but are you in Canada right now, or did you make it back to the U.S.?
Yes, I am actually about a half hour away from the border of Vermont, and I'm in Quebec with host Julian Kinville, who is another player up here in Canada. And yeah, we're going to ride down there tomorrow morning and get some practice in. He's actually playing the qualifier that you had mentioned that Nick is getting ready for, and so he's going to see if he can qualify for the tournament as well.
Do you have more information than us? Is it like a 5-spot or a 4-spot qualifier type deal? Like everyone plays, who the top 4 get in kind of a thing?
I think so. I think that's the format. Okay. Top 4 scorers qualify into the tournament. Its tee times ran between, I think, like 7:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. or something. And yeah, it's just the kind of, you go out USCGC style, you play, best score gets to go in the tournament. So yeah, be pretty fun. Cool to see.
You're moving into GMC, which has both styles of courses and a little bit of mixture on either of them, but it seems like it would be suiting up for your style. Everyone has preferences with specific courses, but it seems like it. And you mentioned Maple Hill being, I just heard it, I think, as your favorite. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have to bring that up because people think that we record our show out of Maple Hill sometimes. They apparently, someone there on the course property that works there said people will show up and be like, "Where's Nick and Matt's studio?" And I'm like, "We're not there." Like, they're looking in the pro shop. Anyways, but no. So Maple Hill, it's coming up, and I hate to ask this question without knowing the answer, but are you going to be able to qualify into Maple Hill for sure, kind of a thing? Or are you having to play good at GMC?
Yeah. I'm in 36th place at the moment in the Pro Tour point standing, and so these events actually are kind of important for me because I have to hopefully get into the top 30. So I'm a secured spot for the Pro Tour finale. Yeah, like I kind of said, I played really well at these courses last year. They're honestly my 2 favorite events, probably on the U.S. Tour, on the Pro Tour. So, yeah, really, really amazing courses and events, and I'm very excited to play them, especially after getting a little confidence boost of a nice 1050 average from Canadian Nationals.
Okay, well, you're not alone when you talk about favorite courses. There's a whole bunch of you pro touring players who are like, love Smuggler's Notch, love Maple Hill. So we're excited to hear that, especially us coming out of the East Coast, that these courses are showing off.
And to hop in for a second, with the Silver Series event happening, let me center. With the Silver Series event happening last week, someone passed you, so you're at Marweed, so you're actually down to 37th. You're the first one out of the play-in. But of course, we have 2 more events, and there's going to be a lot of shakeup happening there.
Yeah.
But there's, like you were saying, the top 30 are automatically qualified into it. You have the next, I think, 5 or 6 get a play-in, but Eagle Command is going to be one of those because he won an Elite Series or Major. So he'll be in the play-in, and I think it's 4 or 5 besides that. I don't have the exact number, but I have you as the first one out as it stands right this second.
All right. That's a little bit of extra motivation to play well this weekend.
There you go.
Baby. Just leave it up to Statmando to drop the bombs.
Think of Evan's face.
Yeah.
What he just said.
I don't know if that's going to help. But
well, it depends what he's thinking of your face for. Anyway, all right, never mind. So, we've gotten to this point where we didn't set you up for this, but we're going to play a game if you don't mind sticking around. And it's just a game about disc golf history. If you've ever heard it before, it's called Stat or Fiction. You want to play?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Evan, let's go.
Stat or Fiction, presented by Statmando.
And intern Ben Kenny's, repping the Canadian flag there as his background. He's going to play as well. Good job getting the points to 0, Ben. Evan, Thomas, do you know the rules more or less? You got to guess true or false kind of a deal?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's right. Big fan of the show. That's right. Big fan. I think I remember we did a Brody Smith interview, and you were in the background watching the Nick and Matt show, and I don't remember how that came up. I think that was last year sometime. Anyways,
yeah.
Glad to have you on, and now you get to play the game. Evan, take it away.
Well, I debated throwing it in last second, but Steve sent me a message, and there have been 3 previous Canadians to win the Canadian Nationals across both open divisions. So this is not a stat or fiction, but I'm just sharing some stats.
Right.
Lane King won it in 2015, and then you had Martin Hendel in 2017 before Thomas Gilbert in 2022. You also had Kristen Tatar win it in 2019. So it's 3 Canadians out of 8, but 4 internationals out of 8 previous winners.
When was the last Canadian winner or international?
2019, which was Nate Sexton and Kristen Tatar. So it usually happens every other year. I'm assuming it was COVID related.
No, I guess I meant like Kristen Tatar's not Canadian and neither is Nate Sexton. I'm saying like the last Canadian.
2017 was Martin Hendel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good job.
But let's bring it into
he's just setting us up. He's like, these are all stats. Stat. And now he's like, let's play
stats tree.
Let's play the game now. Here we go.
Whoa, okay, apparently. But thanks to Steve for sending me the Canadian Nationals, if I didn't say that. But thanks to Carl from Statmando for getting me a bunch of these Canadian-themed stat or fictions.
Ooh.
So,
all right.
This first part, I'm going to give you a lead into the stat. Thomas Gilbert has completed 45 Elite Series or Major rounds this year in 2022. 45 rounds. The stat or fiction is this accounts for over half the MPO Elite Series and Major rounds by Canadians this year. And I'll preface that by that's, let's say, full Canadians, or that's what their nationality is. So Simon Lizotte, although he might be half Canadian, he identifies as German.
Okay, yeah.
So this accounts for over half the MPO Elite Series and Major rounds by all Canadians this year. This is the 45 rounds that Thomas
Is FPO? Is that
just MPO?
Okay.
And hold on, you're not up first, but if you go first, then we're all probably just going to guess what you say because Mr. Canada himself. But I just want to clarify. He told us already, like by the end of the season, he's going to have like 40 tournaments, I think, tournament rounds. If he's at 45 now, and I'm guessing most of them were at least 2, some of them 3, he's got a little ways to go this season yet, huh, Gilbert?
So this is Elite
Thomas
Series
Gilbert?
and Majors.
I
First
I just
of all.
called him Gilbert, like we're bros.
Like the locker room buddy.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was going through my head, and then it was those amount of rounds are more than half is what the stat is? Or the
pretty much think of all Canadians who have played Elite Series and Major rounds this year in MPO. Thomas Gilbert accounts for over half of those.
Okay. You're up first, Ben.
You guys probably can't guess what I'm gonna guess, but I'm gonna have to go stat.
I'm going stat as well. I just feel like with what he already prefaced all this with, that it's gotta be. What do you think, Thomas?
I think stat.
Okay. We're
Ben
either
just
stay
puts it
low or
in.
go high.
Oh man,
Too easy.
you
for
guys. Sorry. All right. I thought this was cool though. It is a stat. Thomas
cool.
Gilbert has 45 rounds, as I said. From all other MPO players or Canadians in Elite Series and Majors, we have 32 total rounds. And then when you bring it to all Canadians, MPO or FPO, there's 130 total.
Mm-hmm.
So less than half in that scenario. That'd be
I wouldn't be
a little bit more
surprised
than a
if there
third.
were more FPO rounds than MPO, like the rest of the MPO. Because I know there's 3 FPO that play events here and there on the Pro Tour. You know, Chantel has done like 3 or 4 events. I know Colleen and Kat Johnson have done 2 or 3 events themselves. So that's why I wanted the clarification of FPO.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 32 other rounds in MPO. There's 130, so that'd be 52 FPO rounds this season.
All right.
So it could have been a good question. Do you have more than all the FPO Canadians combined? Which would have been fiction, but that wasn't it.
All right. I will be answering this time for the next question. So go ahead, Evan.
All right. Ella Hansen won an FPO and Canadian Nationals. This was Ella Hansen's first PDGA win in a state or province that does not border the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, dang. Any win, right? We're not talking
any
tier.
Any PDGA win.
So it could
any
be like
PDGA win.
she could have won in Iowa.
Oh, man. I feel
Sure.
like...
Has she?
I just feel like she has one.
Wait,
I'm
are we
trying to
talking
remember.
only disc golf or also ultimate frisbee?
No, he said PDGA.
Yeah, I don't have her ultimate frisbee record, so let's keep this to disc
I feel
golf.
like it's a feeling that I'm having to go off of a recollection of what did she post on social media last year. Oh my goodness. But was that near home? Well, I just talked myself out of it. I think if she does have a win, it's near home, and it's, you said bordering what?
The Pacific Ocean.
Oh, bordering
So
the Pacific. So
there's
3
there's
states or Alaska.
Where does she live?
She's from Washington, I think. Originally went to school in Oregon.
Yes.
But yeah, there's the potential of British Columbia and maybe one other Canadian.
I've talked
province?
myself
The
out
territories.
of it, but it could go either way. No, this is. Wait.
I already
This,
put you down.
what is it? What was I going to say? Fiction?
Yeah.
Has she won outside the Pacific Ocean before? Outside a state that borders?
No, so that fiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is her first.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right.
Wait,
You're
you're saying this
Thomas.
is her first?
Yeah, this is her first outside of the bordering
Yeah.
Pacific.
So that would be stat.
Oh, thank you.
I said the question was, or this statement was, this was Ella Hansen's first PDGA win. For a state province.
Thank you.
We're all
talked
over the
ourselves
place.
in a million circles. You're up, Thomas.
Yeah, I agree. Stat, this is their first win outside of the Pacific.
He might know because he was up there. Don't listen to him, Ben.
I'm gonna have to go with what I was gonna go regardless. Shout out Steve Falco. Stat.
Shout out Steve. We need to make the Steve Falco rule. Like,
That's
have it
an
a rule.
awesome rule. The Steve
Okay.
Falco rule.
Anyway, so what do we got, Evan?
All right. This is a fiction. I got y'all. So, she has, let me pull it up real quick.
I talked myself out of it because I felt like she had made a post like, hey, I won something, but I just couldn't remember where, and I was like rolling the dice
The
that it was
odds were
probably
better
home.
for fiction, but it felt like a stat.
She has 6 previous wins, 3 of which were in Washington, 1 in Oregon, 1 in California. Then she has 1 win in Georgia, which was a Flex C start called the OTB Roadshow Monday Flex at
doesn't
Perkerson
count.
Park.
She probably
Where
never said a thing about that.
She beat Chloe Alice by 5 strokes and Leah Sinigini by 13. And that was the entire field. I mean, good
You
players,
tricked
of
us.
course.
That was an X
But
tier.
1 PDGA win. That's a regular C tier at that, actually.
Anyways,
So.
good job. Point to Evan. We're still all tied up at 1. We got question 3. And this one, if you think it's going to massively give it away, like Thomas has an advantage, we'll just start first. But otherwise, it's going to Thomas.
All right. Number 3, Casey Hannemeyer, who I believe came in 3rd this weekend, the Canadian Nationals, shot the highest rated round in Elite Series or Majors this season by a Canadian not named Thomas Gilbert. That's a little bit of a mouthful.
So the only other Canadian we all know. No, I'm kidding. We know a handful.
There's a handful.
That's
Only
what I
32
said.
rounds.
I was joking. But now this one name you bring up, you're saying
I'm
is
saying
it the highest rated round by a
one
Canadian
name.
not named Thomas?
Yes.
So either you're getting
This
really
season.
tricky and there's another Thomas who shot a really good round, or you looked this stat up and you were wrong. Oh man, I can't make
I'll
Thomas
give you
answer
this.
this first. We're gonna
Carl
go with Ben.
sent it to me, and so I did not think this through. Don't try to get into my
All
brain.
right, Ben, what do you think? What did you say it was rated? Did you tell us?
Should I? Is that part of it?
Doesn't matter. I mean,
Well, it kind of
got it.
matters. But maybe not. No, it kind of
I ca-
matters.
I kind of want to leave it open.
All right. Doesn't
I
matter.
have it now, but I'll tell you at the end.
I'm bullish on Canadians, so I'm gonna say stat.
Okay.
I will also preface this is by Canadian official nationality, so Simon Lizotte considers himself German.
Yes.
Can you tell us what he shot, like as a round score?
I don't have the
Okay.
specific number.
Do you remember what he shot, Thomas?
I just have the
like
round
as a
rating.
round score?
This is an ESPN stat.
What he shot?
Yeah, like I don't know, like under par. Like you shot a what, like a minus something.
So does Portland Open and Beaver State Flank count?
Portland Open would. Beaver State Fling was a silver series, so this is just Elite Series and Majors. So Portland Open was an Elite Series.
You did well at those.
Okay, I'm not gonna make him answer first. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna roll the dice and say stat as well because I think Ben's right, and I'm gonna go with stat. It's on you now, Thomas.
The only thing that's maybe messing with my head is Vegas. There was a few Canadians there that shot decently well, but I know Casey had a very good round at Portland Open, which I believe will probably be the second highest Canadian round.
But are you asking Evan about what happened at Canadian Nationals?
No, this is just Elite Series and Majors.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got
So
you.
I'll say stat. I
All
think
right.
We're gonna have a tiebreaker necessity.
All right, here we go. This is a stat. So Casey Hannemeyer did shoot the highest rated round this season from Elite Series and Majors by a Canadian not named Thomas Gilbert. Whew, got that off. That's a mouthful. I will say it was a 10:32 rated round in the second round of the Portland Open. Thomas had that feeling right. I'm not sure about the Beaver State Fling, excuse me. Didn't pull up silvers.
Beaver State Flank.
But we need a tiebreaker now because y'all are tied at 2. So this is going to be kind of an open question. So let's just say whoever's the closest. It's not Price is Right. You don't need to be under or over. However that one works, I forget. Just going to come up with a number of what you think it is and try to be the closest. How many rounds does Thomas Gilbert have this year from Elite Series and Majors that are rated higher than 1032, which is the highest rated by a Canadian not named Thomas Gilbert?
I'll go first. 19. Yeah, Ben, go.
This is from Elite Series and Majors only. Just to continue talking.
Maybe I guess a little
Wait,
high.
so no ultimate frisbee?
Just
No ultimate
answer the
frisbee.
question.
7.
It can be
7.
any state. Doesn't have to be bordering the Pacific Ocean.
I said 19. Oh, you offended Thomas.
Oh no!
All right, no, you got locked in with your 7. Go ahead, Thomas.
I'm gonna guess
Over or under on what I guessed.
over what you guessed.
Okay.
All right, so I picked a low ball.
Who's closest? What number did you say?
Wait, Thomas, you said over 19 this year?
Yes,
Yeah,
over
so
19.
he says 20.
What number did you guess?
32. I guess 22.
Okay, 22.
22.
All right.
Drum roll.
I have 10 rounds from Thomas Gilbert that are 1032 or higher.
Oh.
Which I'm trusting Carl here.
This is how the game was invented.
Let's go!
It was like such a horrible stat. Thomas is never coming on our show again. He's like, your Pro Tour ranking.
I mean,
and your-
1032 is like insane. So I don't know.
Yeah, you could have had 20 something above 1030. I need to pull it up.
Real quick, Thomas.
but
What is your
I can
rating
look it
right
up.
now? What is your rating right now?
1025.
Okay.
And my rating was 1029 earlier in this year because I was averaging 1040 somethings for like 3 or 4
For like
elite.
10 rounds.
I guess so. I guess only 10 rounds.
But this is specifically,
10
specifically he's talking elites and majors. So maybe you played some that were not.
Yeah, maybe so.
Well,
I guess I won again.
yeah, because 7's the closest. Yeah, wow. Man, my math was off there.
Here we go.
All right, let's get out of the game segment here and let's wrap this up. So We were really excited to have you on tonight and beat you at a game about Canadian stats and represent the Canadian flag. And it was a good time. I thought this was spectacular. Been following your game for quite a while. How are you feeling with your sponsorships? Anything big coming up? You're unhappy? You want to throw in the towel? What? Like, no, you're good?
Yeah. I quit disc golf. Everything's all done. But no, I'm very excited for the future. I mean, like I said, I think this tournament's going to be a little bit of a spark, hopefully for the final bit of the season. And yeah, I mean, the contract and all that kind of stuff. I mean, all I'll say is I don't have anything really in the works yet, but I do know that this is my contract year, so who knows where things go from there.
Apparently, you just need a contract
And
year.
now, for a Nick and Matt Show exclusive.
Exclusive.
Where
This
you
is
going?
Yeah. He's
Tell
like,
us.
I guess this is a contract year. That's why you won, right? I mean, you're trying to show your value.
Yeah, trying to build a resume.
All right, this is my guess. Back to Innova.
Ben just comes out. Give yourself the fire take. Oh, you can't.
Tour series.
Getting sponsored by the country of Canada. Let's go.
Let's go.
The country of
By
Canada.
Justin Trudeau. Let's go.
Well, we were, like I said, we're excited to have you on tonight. Glad it worked out. Sorry to make you sit through the first 10 minutes of us introing the show. That's only happened maybe 3 other times, but 106 episodes, not too bad, but you had to sit through that one. All right, so your next event is GMC. You're playing it, and then you're going to Maple, and we're going
I'll
to
be
root
there
for you. Yeah.
with Kearns at GMC.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that is true. But before, Thomas, you drop, I got to say 1033 rated rounds this year of all events, 29 total. So that's closer to the number you were thinking.
Wow.
There was 12 from let's say, tour events, which includes the European tours as well. You had 5 from silvers, 2 in specifically Euro tours. 2 of the silvers were actually Sula, which was a Euro tour.
Yeah.
Then I think it was all 3 rounds at the Canadian Nationals, or at least 2. All
Yep.
3 rounds.
All 3 rounds. I think.
Well, when you ended up saying, like, these are like tour, elite, major, I was like, ooh, I think I overguessed. But anyways.
Yeah, I don't think I consider that in as much. Because I was thinking, like, okay, I played 110 rounds this year. I think I have over at least half, like, about half of them are above my rating, and then 32, and then, okay, so it's like about 22 or so.
Unfortunately, that's not the way Statmando does math, but that's the way I do math. I do math that way
Yup.
all the time. They're like, you're wrong, Matt. You're wrong.
Wait, one
Yeah.
more question. What's the secret to shooting a hot round at Maple Hill? I shot +7, Matt shot +10. Show us the ways. How'd you shoot so good at golds?
You gotta have a hot start. You have to have one friend doing good and rooting you on. You have to do one friend that's completely blowing up, and you're just like, okay, thank God it's not me. And then it just like all the pieces fall together, and you're shooting the hot round.
And realistically, you got to be able to throw farther than me. You got to be able to throw farther to do that. So
That helps too.
yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. We'll see you at these events coming up, and we're rooting for you, man.
All right, yeah,
All right.
sounds good.
Have a
You
good
guys
one.
there.
He's
All
out.
right, thanks.
All right, everybody. Thomas Gilbert trying to get the exclusive out of him. He said it's a contract year, so I mean,
Hey, that's something.
It's something. I mean, we're going to start making shows talking about who's going where and the possibilities, and let the rumors fly. Okay, no, I'm kidding.
Man, we're not that close to the off season. I don't want to get into that stuff yet. We got so much disc golf left.
Okay, so this was going to be a shorter show. Some of you may be sad, and when I say shorter, you all just smiled slowly, saying, "Those are the famous words," before they go another hour. But so let's just see where we get. First of all, I want to talk about trydiscs.com. Has anybody tried that yet? If you have in the chat, let us know. Did you find something you liked? What's a disc that we should look for live on air right now?
Ooh.
Try discs.
Ooh,
What-
how about a glow Z zone?
Okay, I'm gonna punch that in. Why?
No, we should do something like rare that people like
That they want, we
like
go-
a full tilt, because those just
Oh.
got released.
So I'm just gonna punch in tilt right now. I could type in full tilt. I'm just.
Or
gonna,
yeah, just do tilt. Are you saying you want to go on display? On the display?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
okay,
I'm just
okay.
doing it live while we talk, or you could do it live. I don't. So you can look up a disc And then it's going to search all these retailers, 170 plus retailers. It's going to check out and see if it can find the disc you're looking for. But not only is it going to search all retailers, it's going to also be able to do, there's a whole disc flight matrix, which is awesome. Every disc ever produced for PDGA, out of production, tracker, interesting. I'm looking for that for my ESP comments. So I got to use that tool right now.
Limited edition ESP comments.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have enough time to do this all during this discussion about Tri discs, but this is a real prize, as I've said in previous weeks. It looks for you across all retailers and tells you where and what, and then it has a simple button to let you click to buy it. So my computer is broken right now, so I can't tell you if it found the tilt, but it's because we're streaming so much high quality content.
Yes.
It's an incredible tool. If you feel like, hey, I want a disc that's similar, but I want it in a different brand, it will do that for you. You can say, here's how far I throw, and here's my skill level, and it's going to find you the right disc, and it's going to find you across all manufacturers and say, why didn't you try one of these? If you like that, you do this. It's just a really cool website. If you haven't tried it out, please, there's a link inside the description for this podcast, but you can also just go straight to tridisc.com. Use the link. It lets him know it came from us. Otherwise, he's just going to have to look and guess that when we talk about it, he gets more, people looking at it. And that's what we want. We want to support disc golf startups, and an amazing tool like this deserves it. Tridisc.com. No codes, no nothing. In fact, they'll give you the codes, right? Right, Ben?
True.
They'll give you the codes that give you money off.
You can find the best retailer. I was looking for free shipping and a 10% off code, and I found it. I forget which one, but
let's go.
I found it. So it tells you how much they ship for too. So free shipping too, which is sick. It tells you what stores do free shipping.
It's cool. Tridisc.com.
Which I said like 7 times already.
And you know what I'll never forget is the owner's name, Azim.
Tyler. Oh
yeah, Tyler. Remember that whole
yes, that was hilarious.
debacle?
We're gonna make a blooper reel very soon.
Man, that one was like the ghost of my body left me when he's like, this is a mistake. And I'm like, who are you? Like, my head could not put it all together. I've already explained it 100 times. Azim, we like your product. We think everyone should check it out. Tridisc.com. Okay. Let's go. Let's do this. What matters? Let's keep it on the shorter side because we're already going over with our double intro and everything. What's like on the line with the playoffs here? Like Paul's already locked it. There's a few others. Ricky's probably locked in. There's players that are locked in. I think the top 3 FPO are even not quite locked into like final round bye, but like they're locked in pretty good. Like who are the players that we're looking at that are like, that we should watch for, that have like a story to be told? Like I sat down with Nate Perkins at the wedding this past weekend and I said, hey, like, are you in? Like, he's like, yeah, I'm in GMC. And he's like, but I'd have to place like, I think he said like top 12 or something at GMC to be able to make it into Maple. So like what players are not even making it into Maple if they don't play well? Do we have that list? We don't need to go like 50 down the list. I just mean like a general, like who's who.
Evan can get that. His query.
I can get whatever you want. So yeah, I'm looking at a few different things right now. For Maple Hill, it's top 72 in MPO and top 36 in FPO,
okay,
plus qualifiers. And that's also like if people opt out, it's going to keep on going down the list. But for the fun of the game, let's keep it strict to top 72, except I'm going to do top 73 in MPO because Nicola Castro is suspended for the rest of the season, but he still has Disc Golf Pro Tour points. But Paul Ulibarri is sitting at 73rd right now, so he is the last in, so to speak, at MVP Open. Of course, GMC is going to shake things up like crazy. But below him, there's, a lot of names that people are going to recognize, but who might not be, you wouldn't guess them to be locks, but I mean, like Noah Five Ash, Austin Turner, Justin Rozak, Dylan Horse, who's been having really good play lately, took Nick to a playoff and won. And then what did he just do this last weekend? He was top 10 at Butler County.
Yep, top 10.
You said Austin Hannum, right? Or did you say Austin Turner? Okay. I was going to say Austin Hannum. He's been doing great.
Another name is Scott Stokely. He's sitting at 101 right now. And he is not looking likely for MVP, but he is sitting in the last spot with the Nico suspension to GMC. Andrew Fish is sitting outside, but he qualified to MVP Open via the Greater Hartford Open, winning that over Paul Kranz this weekend. But I think the biggest name that's on the outside of MVP and the Pro Tour Championship is Nathan Queen, who's sitting in the 94th right now, dropped one spot because I don't think he played Butler County. He's going to play GMC. He could get a lot of points if he placed well at GMC, but it's still like a monumental comeback to try to get into MVP or the Pro Tour Championship.
Yeah, and so Paul mentioned on our show last week, he's like, let me get this out of the way. I think I said this. Our Apple podcast account right now, for some reason, and this one hopefully syncs up, but it hasn't been syncing since we did Aaron Gossage. Something broke. And I've reached out to Apple Podcasts. We have a ticket in. We're waiting. It seems like Spotify's working again. And most other like podcasts, like generic platforms that reach out and just find podcasts wherever they are, like those are all working. But the Paul McBeth interview, if you're listening to this one and it's not on Apple Podcast, then you probably don't use Apple Podcast. But this is I don't know how to get the message out there to those people. Paul McBeth interview's up, and he said the playoffs ultimately don't mean anything to him. They have like almost no value to him. And I think that's accurate. Like he can't leave a clinched position for finals, right?
Yeah, and I agree. Well, I'll go into the officially clinched, locked in, can't do worse. You have the top three in MPO who are clinched to the semifinals. So that's Paul McBeth in number one, Ricky Wysocki and Calvin Heimberg as number 2 and 3. They're locked into the semifinals. That's the top 8 in MPO. That's not changing no matter if they drop, finish last, does not matter for the next 2 events, or even USDGC, because USDGC does not count for points, by the way. It's just the last 2 playoff events, being GMC and MVP. But yeah, those top 3 are clinched, and then up to 6 is clinched for the quarterfinals, which would be Gannon Burr, Chris Dickerson, and Simon Lazat. So they all have 1 bye. The top 3 at least have 2 byes, but you got to assume that Gannon Burr, Chris Dickerson, and Simon Lazat probably will get that. The top 8, Simon has like a 130-point lead over Chris Clemens. Not 130, a little less than that, 115. So if Simon just does moderately well and the players above him, they should get into that top 8 position. But on the FPO side, it is getting interesting. So the top 4 get a bye to the semifinals. Nobody's clinched yet, but you got to assume, by all things considered, that Paige Pierce, Kristen Tatar, and Katrina Allen will get those first 3 spots. They haven't officially clinched it, but looking pretty likely. The real story is getting that 4th spot, and it's going to be so exciting. People have to be glued to their seats, and hopefully the message gets out there well enough. But Valerie Mandojano, Owen Scoggins, and Missy Gannon are all battling for that number 4 spot, which means a ton because that's the bye to semifinals. Otherwise, they're playing in the first round. Valerie Mandojano sitting at 824 points, Owen Scoggins at 817, and Missy Gannon at 794. The wildest thing to be is none of those players played Butler County. Missy Gannon could have gotten full points, and of course it would have been hard to get all 25 when Kristen Tatar was in the field. Honestly, they're probably looking at a 2nd place finish at best, which I don't know. It's a quarter of the points, and it would have been 85. So whatever a quarter of 85 is, I'm not that good at brain math right now, but
21 and a half.
Is that it? Nice.
Know.
Look at that. Something like that. 21-ish points. So that was if Missy Gannon played and gotten 2nd, she could have been right on Valerie Mandojano's tail for 4th place, but she took it off, which you can't put a price tag on rest. That's different for everyone. So maybe that is really important. But also GMC and MVP are 125 points for the winner. So 25% more than a normal Elite Series. They count full. There's no drops for these 2 playoff events. So if Missy Gannon just beats Valerie Mandojano both times, then maybe she gets it, and it beats Owen as well, of course. But either way, these next 2 events are going to be exciting for that crucial 4th spot.
I like that. And I would like to see in years to come, and I know the Pro Tour usually pilots things without it being perfect. Remember the All-Star match? It got better the 2nd year. You'd have to believe playoffs are going to get better the 2nd year because they're going to realize what people want to see. And I think one of the things we'd like to see is a story being told here. And if you have your best player saying nothing matters to me in the playoffs, I get it. It's like a buy in a way. They've earned it. But I would like to see the story shift then to where even cameras just follow the players who it really matters on. Make it a true playoff event, to where, in that sense, we want to see that story. This putt matters because if he misses this putt, he's out. If he hits it, he's in. Like, even if he's 50th down on the list of players in like the event, like that's a cool story. I'd like to see that stuff. So this year's playoffs are kind of but we'll see.
Well, if the winner is like, let's say Kristen Tatar is winning by 8 strokes again into the final couple holes, but Missy Gannon and Owen are on lead card and they're battling it out for that 4th spot, and Valerie Mandujano's on chase doing super well, like just coming up with some random scenario, like that'll be super exciting. And I think cameras should be glued to that too, because that's almost more exciting than Kristen Tatar winning yet another event, which is remarkable. But of course, it could be totally different. Valerie could be winning it, and Owen could be in 2nd place, and then it's just double.
Yeah, double. And I guess that's what I'm saying. It's interesting that they're having an event like held inside of a playoff, which is kind of how I'm seeing this, because you have players who don't care, and then you have players who do, and it's like 2 different stories. I'm hoping they put cameras around it like that. Maybe they will. Let's give them a chance. Maybe they'll do it. But so that's coming up, and then MVP Open. Great. Awesome. So I'm thinking out loud here, and I was just thinking about like how we're attending the event and all that. Anyways, long story short, I'll figure that out. We'll bring a friend along of the Nick and Matt show probably during MVP Open. We'll figure that out. Let's talk. We already talked a lot about all this stuff, ratings, and let's make this one quick. If Nick was here, he'd say, "We're not even going to talk about it. We've done that enough." Here's the thing. And we've talked about it a lot, but it's a splash yet again. I am starting to be swayed. I've held pretty fast on my opinion with ratings. I'm starting to be swayed that there is a better system. For the amateurs, I don't think we have much to complain about. Like, I think it's pretty close. If I play an amateur event, it's not anything significant like, oh, I should have had that 8 points higher than what it was. Like, okay, whatever. Like, dude, like you're an amateur. Like, it's all going to work out if you play enough rounds. It'll average out. But when you see a round like Joel puts down, and he's like, I don't even care about the rating, he says in his post. And then he goes, but here's my rating. I'm like, you care. Like, you say you don't care, and then you post, here's my rating. And then Big Germ posts and says, like, you know, it's a fun thing, and like we all like it. Everyone looks, even if you say you don't like it. This comes up every time. But for Joel Freeman's round, and there's another one that came up somewhere else too, but for Joel Freeman's round, between him and I feel like 2nd place that round, what was the rating difference there? I'm gonna have to pull that up. Do you happen to have that between Joel and Chandler?
I can pull it up. I'm stat crando.
If someone wants to look that up, what the rating difference was.
Have it right here if I can open up, but
where I'm going with this is typically, and I'm no.
I have it before
Chuck Kennedy. Chuck Kennedy is rolling over, not in his grave. He's rolling over in his couch as he listens. I was gonna say, typically, you feel pretty comfortable saying anywhere from like 8 to 10 like points per stroke. That's obviously very rough math. I know, again, that's probably offensive to the system. And this is the point, though. Depending on who's playing in your field, that number changes. And the reality is the skill level of the golfer did not change. So I'm being a hypothetical, but if a whole bunch of 920 rated players played that round and played their 920 rating, it's going to affect what the exact same round that Joel Freeman just put down. This is the point. If you put 100,000 rated players in there, it's going to affect what his round was rated as well, because it's based off of, and it's not, here's the thing, I'm not bashing the system fully. It's based off of how the course played, because that's how they can evaluate how difficult the course is, because they said, we know the quality of these players playing it. We know the quality based off of the way they just played it. So now we can tell you what it's rated. I get that. The problem is it can change every round and it can change every week. And it doesn't feel like that should be that case. Now, Chuck on our show said, well, Matt, round to round, like the sun could be shining differently in the 2nd round and into somebody's eyes, or the wind could be blowing in from the east, and that's harder than it was the 1st round. But in my mind, unless there's really something notable or significant, we're not just making up things like maybe the sun is shining in someone's eye differently, I think it should be at least the same on the day of. Jessica Weiss is like, hey, had I shot the round I did today the day before, it would have been 40 points higher, kind of a thing. And it's like, man.
Well, Matt.
Yeah.
So if you take a 65, which was the second best score in round 3, and was that the best? No, was not the second best across the whole tournament. Was the second best in round 3. It was rated 1035 by Matt Oram. In round 1, Freeman shot a 65. Was rated 1036, 1 point higher. That's nothing. In round 2, he shot a 65 as well. Was rated 1033. That's 2 points less. That's nothing. So across the whole tournament, 65 was rated about a 1034, 1035. So I think that was consistent across the whole thing. What I think is the biggest factor here is it was a long course, a lot of throws. Everyone talks about the Memorial. Obviously, there's the scoring separation with OB and whatnot, but it's really a par 3 course. If you're playing good, you're probably going to get a 2. You're going to occasionally get a 3. At this course, there are a lot of par 4s. I think there were some par 5s even, or at least one. So you just have a lot more throws. So even though that Joel Freeman beats the field by 8 strokes, compared to, let's say, Paul McBeth beating the field by 8 strokes at the Memorial, Joel Freeman threw a lot more throws just because it's a longer course. And so that means each stroke difference matters less as you were getting to it. So usually about 8 to 10 points per stroke. This one was close to about 5 points per stroke. So it's just really hard to get into those high numbers. If there was more OB, there would be more separation between the strokes, even if there was a lot. That'd be rated more. But this is the same thing that happened to Paul McBeth at Champions Cup. It's the same kind of course. A lot of throws, a lot of par 4s with not a lot of OB. And it's just what we get, and that really stinks. And I think there are potential better ways, but I do have some positives if we can get into that, unless you wanted to say anything more about specifically this round.
No, I think I said enough. Just let me reiterate. If it's based off of how the field is playing, that means we're using the field to try and determine how hard the course was on that given round. That's what's trying to happen. What I would like to see, and some are going to call me crazy, some will love it. I would like to see courses that are established. We have generally a good idea, and you can have a course committee that comes together and says, here's what 1,000 is without any notable like weather or atmospheric changes. Like, here's what 1,000 is. When I walk up to Maple Hill, it will tell me the red layout, if you shoot par, is like 930. If you go to the white layout, if you shoot par, it's like 950 or something. And like, that's my point. Like, I would like to see that. Now, is it perfect? There would have to be some committee for every course that's well established. So that way we could have a pretty standardized deal. Like, they could give a deviation on any given day. If there's like rain, they say, hey, this much rain, this much wind, you know, equates to this many point difference. But, and I'm a beginner here, guys. I interviewed Chuck once and I asked him if like a whole bunch of low rated players throwing out of bounds affects how good someone's round is. And they said, yes. If I can affect how good Joel Freeman's round is by me throwing out of bounds more times than I usually do, and I know there's standard deviations as in like, if I go 100 points below, they throw it out. But if I can borderline that 90 whatever below my rating, it's going to affect how good his was. And that shouldn't. His round is great, and he knows it was. But give us the positives, Evan. We'll wrap up with that.
All right. So if I'm just taking the whole entire season from Elite Series and Majors, so I guess it doesn't include this Butler County. I just did Elite Series and Majors. And we order MPO by their average round rating on the season across the whole season. I think the numbers turn out pretty good in what you would guess. So just to quickly go through it, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but the top 3 are Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki, and Calvin Heiberg at 1044, 1043, and 1042 without rounding. Can you guess what the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings are? Exactly that same order. It's Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heiberg. The 4th on the average round rating list is Matt Oram, who's only played 9 events. He's down in 10th in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. So yeah, it's a little bit out, but he's played less events, less chance to get points. Gannon Burr is sitting there in 5th. Eagle McMahon's at 6th. Eagle McMahon's the same scenario where he's not playing a lot of events. But if you're saying that those are the 6 best players with, well, actually, this is a good example. Chris Pinegar is actually 7th, but he's only played 1 event. So if you set kind of minimum things, but doing an average of the whole season, it turns out well. But Chris Dickerson's 8th, Simon's 9th, Joel Freeman's 10th. If I go to the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, I think that's 8 out of the top 10, and that's including Chris Pinegar in it and Matt or Eagle McMahon, who hasn't played a lot of events. So if 8 of the top 10 are the same between the two systems, I think that's pretty good. And if you just do a minimum of 2 events, Chris Pinegar's, I'm going to assume, most likely not going to have another 1040 round if he 1040 event if he played another one. He's probably going to be around the 1020 to 1030 range and would drop a little bit. But they're going to line up kind of similar. And if that's how it works and you're getting the same numbers as the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings or the Statmando official rankings, then to me, it's a good system overall. And when you pick out the specific ones, yeah, it looks bad, but you have that in all data where you have outliers in the other direction too. I mean, are we going to argue if Paul Macbeth's memorial round where he was, what was that, 10-32, I think, or maybe even higher. I don't have it off. Sorry, 11-32. 10-32 is below average for Macbeth.
But what I want to say is we're not actually saying how good his round was in history. What we're actually saying is how good his round was compared to the field at that event. And that's what the rating system is.
But yeah, and then when you bring it into the whole year, it turns out really well, is my point.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're picking out this one scenario, which doesn't look the best. And my point is it goes the other way with the memorial round.
I started out by
People
saying generally, now speaking specifically amateurs, but generally I think the rating system is good enough to have fun with, as Jeremy Colling said. And he wasn't saying that. I'm saying that, but he was saying like it's a fun thing. And I'm saying I think it's good enough to have fun with it. But the hard part is here, and we've talked about this before, we got to wrap it up, is that sponsorships are affected by ratings. And that's a whole nother conversation that I think it'd be nice if there was a different way for them to do that. Just base it off of wins or something.
Only comment on that is if you're sponsoring on a system, you can't complain that it's flawed.
Yeah.
It's you choosing to use that system would be the only thing that you could say is flawed. It's your choice whether you use it or not. I think it's still a fair thing to use across the whole season. It's not like if Joel Freeman got a performance bonus by having an 1100 rated round,
which is the case.
And he's going
My
to
understanding is that's the case.
That actually is like, okay, fair enough.
That's my understanding, or at least that's what somebody's throwing out there. And I think it was one of the pro level players saying that there's an 1100 rated round bonus.
Okay, I would personally hope for winning a silver series outweighs all
That's
of
what
an
I'm
1100
saying.
rated round. I don't even know his name. I apologize, but someone threw an 1100 rated round earlier this year at like a C tier in Virginia. It was the same weekend as the Memorial. You can go look it up. That one, like, that's awesome. Innova, if he was sponsored by Innova, he could get a huge bonus. But that, like, no, I don't even know his name. And other people don't even know about this. So if sponsorship's based solely on that, I'd rather win a silver series where now Joel has his name out with Innova everywhere.
No, it's true. And he's getting a lot of attention for this win, and the rating can be part of that's fine.
Maybe giving him more attention.
Do I get any bonus or sponsorships? Because I thought I shot like 1,020 something one time ever. That was pretty cool.
That's like an 1100 rated round for any amateur.
Well, I was just going to say, it was actually almost 100 over my rating at the time. And now we're getting, again, too deep. Do they throw out overrated? Like if I shot way above my rate? Only if you shoot way below.
No, and that's, I mean, I could dive into this for an hour, and I'm sure like one of the Statmanda researchers could dive into it too. They drop your... They drop your lowest ratings, but keep your highest rating ones. So that's one of the things that could potentially cause inflation over time.
Absolutely. Steve Dodge wanted me to ask about that when Chuck was on the show, and we did. And he's Chuck, again, like you, I'd hang out with you. It seems fun. And I would love to talk and debate everything because I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But man, you answer questions so sneakily that I can't be sure if I'm actually getting the honest truth or not. Chuck, we like you. All right. Let's wrap it up. We were going to make it short. It's kind of an off weekish thing. Nick's not
Evan
here.
just went off.
He went
went
off.
off.
We already did 10 minutes
Let's
extra
go.
that nobody else heard.
We did.
But I have to get off quickly so I can apply my Hempfield Botanicals.
Oh.
This is the muscle recovery thing in this little pump bottle here. Watch. I think I can get it to focus. Don't do that. Well, actually, you can do that in the mouth if you want, Ben. Like hot sauce.
All right, if we get 10,000 viewers, I'll put Hempfield Botanicals in my mouth right now.
They actually have.
I don't know if they'd recommend that.
Well, I think they said it's cool, but yeah.
For 10,000 viewers,
It would cool your mouth down, wouldn't it? Like this cooling on contact one.
I'd eat the chapstick.
I would not suggest it. And I feel like their official stance is they would not suggest it.
Okay,
but it's up to your own
probably
choice.
accurate. They're probably officially they're going to say no, but you could. And I know that they have drops as well, CBD drops. I do not have those and use them, but I think they're very interesting, and I would definitely check them out. For all different things, go to hempfieldbotanicals.com. Check it out. They have the salve also, which is in my hand, and I'm showing on camera. See if I can get it to focus. Boop. Little container. This is the small one. You're going to order probably a lot larger. This is just for my desk when I talk about it. The salve is for your more intense focus areas, whether it's pain or soreness. I guess that's the same thing, but you're going to apply it to those spots. Maybe even trauma. I remember getting hit with a disc from far away, and I applied it to that area, and it felt better. Hempfield Botanicals, great supporter of the show. Would you go support them? If you're already using something else, use them on your next one. Code Nick and Matt will get you 20% off. That's a big. All right, we made it. And can I say that our listeners can trust us with almost everything? Maybe not stats always. That's where the game came from. Maybe not with, we'll just leave it with stats. No, I'm kidding. Actually,
I think on a normal episode, you can trust 100% of the stats.
That's right. And that's right. I'm just joking. When I was interviewed recently by Tyler, who came on our show, anyways, when I was interviewed by Tyler, he said something along the lines of like, Matt, Evan Kearns coming on your show as Stat Man, though, is really taking your show to the next level. He's like, what did it take to make this happen? Or how did you, come to be? And I was like, wait a second. I was like, you think Stat Mando takes the show to the next level?
Nick and Matt brought Stat Mando to the next level. Come on now.
No, I said, you really think that? And I started interviewing him, and he's like, yes, absolutely. And I'm like, awesome. Like, this is great feedback. So, and I said, Evan, if you happen to be listening, when everyone else comes searching for you to be on their podcast, I always tell you we'll figure out a way to raise your pay. It won't be much, maybe a bag of jerky here and there, but we'll figure it out. So.
Facts. I get paid more than Evan in jerky.
I could have used all these invites that I had to turn down.
Yes.
Oh man, I could turn that around into a raise.
Yes, you could do that. Right. Yeah, absolutely. You could start your own podcast. I think Statmando has something on the sunrise, or the horizon, the sunrise.
Something on the sunrise. Yep, that's about right.
Down. It's the opposite. But what I was going to say is you can trust us, and here's where I'm going. For the past 6 weeks or so, we've had a listener of the show who's in the know, I'm leaving their name anonymous, reach out and tell us about all the cool finale location stuff for the Pro Tour, keeping us in the loop, a source, if you will. And we were right. It was just announced this week that Nevins, the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship finale location, Nevins County, I think, or something along those lines, just like we had Butler. It's something, or Nevins Community Disc Golf or whatever. People don't know much about it. You can go look it up. It's where the finale is happening. My only takeaway is here. I wish that the Pro Tour would lock in a private venue forever as the right place. And I mean, make it the right place. Long story short, check it out. The players aren't even sure, they've never really practiced it themselves. It should be interesting, but
I believe it was a site of 2012 Worlds.
Okay.
One of the rounds was played there. So you got to assume, Macbeth and MJ and a few others have played it.
It's going to be modified, I heard, a little bit, slightly, all that, because, 2012 is pretty outdated compared to today's standards, but
absolutely,
it's going to be up and ready to go. Cameras, live feed, the whole thing. I just wanted to say you can trust us when we announce something on here. We're not trying to guess at it. If we say it's real, we think it's real. So,
but hey, I'm stoked it's sticking in Charlotte. I think it's a phenomenal final location. I mean, the amount of disc golf in Charlotte's incredible. They do a great job as a whole entire city and community. Well deserved, and I think a great spot to kind of have the end of the season.
Yes. So stay tuned. If Nick makes it in, watch him in GMC, because if he wins, we're all shaving our heads and our beards. So you root for him really hard, and
hopefully me and Kearns will get to spectate him.
Yeah, I might be able to. I don't think I am, but if I do, we'll all three up there. And then, but MVP, if you're coming out to the event,
I'll be there.
Please come over and say hi. We love meeting in person because you get to listen to us. You get to know us. We do not get to know you or anything about you, and we'd love to do that.
I'll be vending there, so I'll be on near hole 1. So
intern Ben, just yell intern Ben, and he'll come running, and he'll say
fishing equipment or
for the Northeast Disc Golf Expo.
The what?
Northeast Disc Golf Expo.
How do they find out information on that?
AnyDiscGolfExpo.com, presented by Maple Hill, sponsored by 978.
Any Disc Golf Expo.
Disc Golf 978. Yep.
.com.
Yes, it's the first disc golf convention in the Northeast. So next year, March 18th and 19th.
I'll be there.
You guys are actually on our main page. It says appearances.
Let's go.
by Nick and Matt.
We got to get
You
Nick
got
to commit now.
was Zion there?
Statmando's on there as one of the vendors. So yeah.
All right.
I'll be vending my
At
own
some
Expo.
point, we're gonna have to consider adding nice little bubble characters or whatever they are, cartoon characters of you guys. We'll have to figure it out. See if I can find the same artist so it doesn't look all janky. But anyways, you guys are a big part of the show.
Awesome.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. Nick's not here, so I'm gonna let intern Ben close it out.
Thanks for listening to the show, y'all. It was a great show. Thomas is awesome. Real cool guy. Tell someone you love him.
All right. With that being
Nice.
said, because it was so nicely done, we hope we brought a smile to your face and we brought some attention to things you didn't know about. You found some value here. If you did, like, comment, rate, all of that good stuff. We'll see you next time, maybe out there on the course for the playoffs. Ben, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome. Peace out, everybody.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or join the conversation live on YouTube.